Welcome, everyone. I'm really happy that you are here and that you are joining us today. So I am going to get started and literally start by congratulating you all for this interesting process that we've been through and that you have been through with us. Okay, these are the things that we're going to talk about. Timeline, we only have 90 days to, and we have less than 90 days for many of you to prepare, file, and receive the confirmation of receipt from USCIS. So we'll talk about what that looks like. Things that we have to do before filing, then what happens after filing, the H-1B approval, and of course, the topic that comes back all the time is travel. So we'll talk about all of that and also have some resources for you that hopefully are helpful. Again, you're with me for just a few minutes. We're doing this for you to, facilitate the process. So as much as you can, I know sometimes it's hard because you're doing other things, but come to me and give me your full attention for the next 30, 40 minutes or so. Okay. Every case is unique. I know that, you're welcome to put questions on the chat. That gives me an idea of what you're thinking, the issues that you may be having, but I'm not going to answer specific questions on the chat if I kind of know where they're coming from. Two things. One, if it is a question that is of general interest, I also take that and answer them in my Q&As that I'm doing once a month. And I hope that you're all getting those because I'm doing them for you. I have plenty of other things potentially to do, but I value the opportunity to help you that way. So if you're not on my newsletters and you're not getting the information, ask your paralegals to please send you the link so that you can register to get them. And also make sure that we're a preferred email person for you because I hear that a lot of the stuff is going to spam. So with that said, again, you can use the chat, but be mindful as to, what I'm going to be able to answer there. Most of you know me, and literally I gave this presentation on Tuesday, and that one was not this particular one, but I talked to our clients and the foreign nationals that were not selected. And it's a very, very difficult process every year. As much as you may have heard, don't take your work with you. It's just your work. Well, for us, our work is our lives. It's, we do it because we have passion for what we do. And we know the importance of what we do. And I speak for me, I speak for our team, our paralegals, legal assistants, immigration specialists. We really put our heart and soul into what we do. And for me at this time is using my experience and energy and passion to really help you. And the government doesn't make it any easy. So this is an opportunity also for me to understand where you're at. Let me know on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, 1 being low, because you're all at a different stage of this process. How are you feeling about the H-1B process ahead? I know and I hope that you're all super excited because you were selected, which already puts you over the moon. But now we're going into the next phase of this process. So use the chat. 1, 2, let me know that, yes, you're paying attention to what I'm saying. And let me know numbers. Okay, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Give me a few more because I know some of you, this is, you've been through this process already. For some of you, you have never been through this process. So if you can see, there's a variety. So I'm going to try to, accommodate the knowledge. I'm going to start with the timeline. This is kind of where we're at, planning a strategy, although a lot of that was already done, okay? So when you got the questionnaires from the paralegals, when we ask you to upload degrees and all those things, we have a lot of information. And if you have not heard from your paralegals, and you most likely have not, because at this time, we don't need anything more. Really, what we need is the time to start processing your cases. Okay. So do not worry if you have not heard from us. And it is because, again, we did our due diligence and we have most, if not all, of what we need. And we just have to start processing what we have. Okay. So that what your paralegals and I are working on right now does not involve you necessarily, except for one little piece. And that is the labor condition certification preparation and filing. And when I say one little piece is because if you're working in a hybrid environment, meaning you're working from home and from the work office, you most likely are going to have a notice of posting that you're going to have to post. And that's about it for that part of the part. And you have to sign that you posted and you have to send it back to us because we have to put it in a public access file. Otherwise, we're working on this LCAs, we're working on those notices, and it's taken 7 to 10 days to get that back from the Department of Labor. We cannot file without it. And then we're also, again, reviewing the documents, making sure that we have the latest that USCIS wants, which changes. Once we get the LCA certification back, we're going to start preparing forms and then the petition. And that potentially is kind of where we may end up reaching out to you for more active engagement, whether it is to review the sections of the immigration petition that belong to you specifically, and other things. And I'll talk about that as we go through it. And then after that, of course, USCIS adjudication. Something that we created and that clients for nationals tell us that they like is this infographic about the process outline, which goes into a little bit more detail as to what's happening. So it is posted on our website, but what I'm going to do is your paralegals have access to this. And when they send you the replay for this webinar, they can also send you the process timeline on this infographic. Okay, pre-filings to do. No, I have not. So some of you here are employers. And if you are, so that you know, for nationals, we are actively working with your employers. That's who we're working with first. We are verifying your job descriptions, your salaries for October 1st. We need that to prepare the LCAs. Getting documents, who's going to sign the immigration forms, and all this kind of stuff. Work site locations as of October 1st. If you are working somewhere else between now and October 1st, it doesn't matter. I got a lot of emails about that after I did the first webinar, and I talked about work locations. So do not worry if things change between now and October. Is October that we need to know. And for some of you, you may be somewhere else and you're coming to, you're moving for this job. And if that happens and we don't have the exact job location now, as long as you're working within the same metropolitan statistical area, and that's a term of art, you just have to do a posting. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details because for most of you, this will not apply. Okay. Some of you are architects or engineers that need a supervisor's license to practice. If that's the case, we are going to be working with your employers on getting that. And for some of you, we are going to be doing a project sample, and I'm addressing each one of the cases individually with a paralegal so you would know. Again, this for employers, and I'm going to go fairly quickly through this, but also so that everybody kind of knows. I talked about the labor condition application, the posting, a public access file that the employers need to retain, and we prepare that for you. The tax implications, if you don't know, as a student, you are exempt, or students are exempt from FICA, which is like Social Security benefit taxes and something else. When you move into H-1B status, potentially October 1st, this FICA exemption goes away and employers will start withdrawing taxes like they do for other employees. They will also be doing, employers, you need to be doing some I-9 verifications, as some of you are going to be going into OPT Cap Gap or a STEM Cap Gap. And then again, in October, you're going to be transitioning to an H-1B. So it's a lot of I-9 kind of compliance work. Cap Gap is actually in my newsletter 2 weeks from now. I'm going to have an article as to how Cap Gap works and, the transition from a Cap Gap to H-1B, which is potentially where many of you are going to be in. And H-1B status, I get this question a lot. Does it happen when I get my H-1B approved? And no, it is on October 1st. Okay. So you're going to be in a period in between that you are legally authorized to be in the United States, but there's no real document that says that, except for the fact that we know that you had an OPT or a STEM that you're in that period or is ending, and you get this Cap Gap, which is an automatic extension. Now, for those of you that do not have anything but whether it is your OPT or your STEM that ends, and you truly, this Cap Gap is the only thing that is holding you, your DSOs, actually, that may be on my next. Let me just go through what foreign nationals need to do. So educational credentials and translations. I believe we have everything we need. Again, your paralegals will reach out to you. So don't reach out to them. And I'm telling you this right now, unless you really have a specific something, because every time they have to stop doing what they're doing to answer emails or phone calls or whatever it is, it takes away from their process. So they will reach out to you if they need anything else. But passports, visa, I-94s, all I-20s. I mean, most of you heard me say all of that. The EADs, the STEM, pay statements. That's going to come more closer to the time of filing, and then again, project summary for some. Employee considerations. I talked about the work location, the labor condition application, the posting at home if you're working from home. Okay, so this is what I was going to start talking about that I thought that I had in the slide, and I do. So if you are in a Cap Gap period, just make sure your DSO, your school advisor, knows that you were selected. And that's something else that your paralegals will be sending to you, is your selection notice, because your DSOs may want that for their records, although it is my understanding that the USCIS new accounts would automatically update your SEVIS record. But we have had so many glitches with the new My USCIS accounts that I'm not really sure what is truly happening. Okay. I still will say to you, even if you are selected, believe me when I say this, do not give up your STEM gift of applying for a STEM gift. You may have heard me say this before, but I'm going to repeat it again. USCIS does all kinds of crazy things. And a few years back, by October 1st, they had not processed or adjudicated at least half of the H-1Bs that were filed under the cap. And those that had STEM OPT were able to continue to work. If you had not applied for a STEM OPT, you were able to stay in the United States legally, but you couldn't work. So there is a huge benefit to the STEM OPT, but I'm just your advisor at this point, and you need to make your decisions as to what you can and cannot do. If you have dependent spouses, but I don't know that many of you do, but if you do, let your paralegals know, because there would be potentially an H4 I-539 that would be filed. And you can do that on your own. If we do it, obviously we will have a legal fee for that. So, but I don't think this applied to many of you. Okay, you've heard me talk about the labor certification. Just know that that is the beginning of the process. Project sample, again, some of you, we will have you do this. The significance of the project sample is that it helps establish the specialty occupation. The way it works is we have a project. For some of you, it's a project that we had from prior years from your employers. And if it's still fairly relevant, we will use, because it's a sample. It doesn't need to be something that you're working on or that is even active. It's just a sample of how would you, with using your courses, the courses that you took during your bachelor's or your master's, and how does that apply to your duties. And that's the whole premise of an H-1B. Is a specialty occupation where you're applying your skill knowledge from your education to the duties of the position. Okay. If you're one of those that we may be doing a project sample for, if it's brand new, we will guide you through it. I have a video that I've done that takes you from A to Z on the process. If you're just reviving another one, it would be much simpler. Processing options. Many of you would be wondering, oh, should I go premium processing or regular? My suggestion to you, literally last year, we did not do, we may have done one for some specific reason, but most, if not all, of our CAP cases were filed regular, and I'm glad we did. We just did a lot of front end work like we had done this year. So we were able to file fairly early within the 90-day period, meaning, April, beginning of May, end of April for some of you. And because USCIS was not as busy, they would get very, very busy towards the end of the 90 days. Some of our cases were processed fairly quickly right at the beginning. Premium process, as you may know, has increased to almost $3,000. Also, the filing fees have increased significantly. And the process is not getting any better. And I can go on, but I do not want to take the positive energy that you have from being selected on the lottery to talk about all the craziness that is going on with USCIS. And literally and I have to mentally prep myself every day not to get caught up on the negativity, because there's a lot. We have a lot of work ahead of us. That's, files, because we are going to be doing paper filing with all the problems that are happening with the portal. There's no way that I'm going to be filing anything electronically. So we'll be putting all the forms, there's letters, LCAs, filing fees, all of that for each one of you. That's on all of our to-do lists. We will prepare your package nicely, carefully. I know that those are adjudicators because I've seen some of the filings. They're ugly, they're disorganized, they don't look pretty. And that's not the impression that we want to make. We represent you, we represent our clients. I know you do phenomenal work, and we want to do phenomenal work for you. So your packages will be nicely prepared and even a sprinkle with a lot of luck, so that they land in good hands. Okay. post-filing. Before I go there, I've been talking for 20 minutes. So I'm taking a deep breath. And I want to make sure that you're still with me. So please tell me in the chat that you're still with me. And if there is something that you heard so far that you said, oh, I didn't know that, or I wonder, please, again, tell me in the chat. I may or may not answer it, but hey, this is your chance. So waiting for some things in the chat from you. Make sure that you're with me. Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah. So that's the thing about the FICA. So the thing about the FICA is, your paycheck may be go down a little bit. So if I am still on CPT, good question. Very good question. Actually, that is something that applies to more than, So for those of you that are on CPT, again, these are good. So please, like I said, I'll answer a few. So keep on now, not very long. If you're on CPT, CPT does not get the benefit of cap gap. The benefit of cap gap only applies to those on OPT, like the regular 12 months OPT and the STEM OPT. So if you are on CPT, yes, you do have to, because we have to show maintenance of status all the way through October. So you do need to talk to your advisor and say, hey, I was selected under the lottery. Most likely you would have to enroll in the summer semester or something. Your school advisors, for any questions relating to F1 status, they are the king and queens of this process. We have general ideas because we work on this all the time, but we're not the final decision makers. But that is a very good question. And please look into that, because you cannot just stop going to school if you're under CPT. Okay. During my cap gap, am I able to continue working in my current firm until October 1st? I'm currently in OPT, which will expire in June. I'm not able to go for the OPT extension. So I'm not sure why. Well, you're not eligible for the OPT extension, meaning you're not eligible for a STEM extension, or you're not eligible, your OPT ends. And if your OPT ends and we file your case before your cap gap, before your current status ends in June, which would be the plan, you're covered by cap gap. Again, I have an article, because a lot of you are in that situation. I have an article coming about cap gap and the transition to H1B that I hope is helpful for you. The forms should have the same work locations. I was in October 1st. Could I change my location in January? Locations are going to change. Hopefully could change. Hopefully it's with the same MSA. And if you truly know that you are going to be changing in November, it may be something that we should include that work location on your LCA now. We need to update LCA every time we change our address. No. Good question. If you change this work location thing it's complicated. I actually have a presentation on how this applies, and it applies a little different, but the general idea, and this happened last year a lot. So these are good questions. Say right now you're living in an apartment 100. And for whatever reason, in December, the next building over has a new apartment that is better, less rent, whatever it is. Or, within a few blocks away from wherever you are. We do not need to file a new LCA because that is considered within the same MSA. And basically you just do a posting at home. We update the path and you're good to go. But what also happened last year is we had, say, someone working in Boston And in December, they decided, oh, well, there's another job opportunity for the same employer in Miami or in Jacksonville. And that is the main work location that is material. And that would require an amended petition, which is extremely expensive because of all the new filing fees. So I encourage you to talk to your employers and decide if there is a possibility that you may be working in November, in December, or whatever, somewhere else, and not just guess to guess. I mean, this has to be solid, as much as you can, that to explore that. Okay. All right. Thank you for engaging. That at least tells me that. And those were good questions. Okay. F1 to H1B cap gap. I may have mentioned this in the past and when I answered the cap gap question, but this is how it works. So April 1st, obviously, is when the USCIS starts accepting petitions, but no one can file April 1st because the forms, this is how crazy this process has been. The I-129 form that we need to file for you, which just updated, literally. Yeah. So let's say your OPT end date is June 1st. And that's your EAD and you don't have any STEM. That's it for you. We need to file, and we will aim to file your petition, your H-1B Cap petition by June 1st before your EAD expires. So before June 1st. If that happens, then you get an automatic extension of your EAD, even though you don't actually get an EAD. And you get an extension of your work authorization that is automatic until September 30th. But it does not go past September 30th. So this is why I keep on saying to you, if you have a STEM and your petition has not been adjudicated by then, your STEM will keep your employment authorized. If you do not have a STEM and all you have is OPT, which is fine, that's the majority of people because the STEM is a very limited category, you will have your extension of work authorization through September 30th. And ideally, your petition will be filed and approved, and you can start working in H-1B status. Okay. Oh my goodness. So yeah, the cap gap continues. So this is kind of a recap of what I just said. And then I know I have some employers in the call. Thank you. Because this is, I say this process is a three-legged stool. We are one of those stools. The employers are another, and you guys are another. The foreign nationals are the other stool. And together, we make this work and we make it stable. We all have things to do. And as long as we all do them collaborative and timely, this is a good process. So this is an example of what the I-9 forms are going to look like when your when your EAD expires, and they have to do an I-9 to keep you employed through September 30th. Okay. Most common requested RFEs or most, so you may have heard about USCIS issuing requests for additional evidence. Now we are in the process, I guess, in a time that for whatever reason, we're seeing way more RFEs out of the blue for no reason. And again, I don't want to get started on it. I want to keep this very positive. But these are the four main reasons why we get requests for additional evidence on H-1B filings. For most of you, the specialty occupation is fairly clear. Most of you are in professions that are recognized, have been recognized for a long time by USCIS as a specialty occupations. We may get the crazy adjudicator that has not been trained and doesn't realize that, oh yeah, a computer scientist or a designer or an architect should be a specialty occupation. But in most cases, again, for you all, I don't foresee this being an issue, the specialty occupation or the employer-employee relationship. Beneficiary qualifications, this is why we need your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, your transcripts. All that evidence that we collected from you goes to prevent RFEs. For those of you on CPT, this maintenance of a status may become an issue. That is why it's so important that you do talk to your DSO and make sure that we are able to show that you're continuing to go to school or whatever it is that you need to do based on the recommendation of the school advisor to show that you're in a status. For those of you that are going through the cap gap, so your OPT ended and you don't have a STEM, your maintenance of a status would be evidence that you continue to work for your employer and they continue to pay you because you're eligible to continue to work. So again, for each one of you may be a little different, but these are the main reasons we get RFEs. And we do our best to proactively address all of those issues before we file. For all of you, not most of you, I very much look forward to getting one of those, and that it will be what your approval notices would look like sometime, between now and June, July. So I'm like, yay, this is the goal right here. Okay, checking in. How are we doing? We doing okay? Tell me in the chat. Awesome. Okay. Yes. All right. Love it. Okay. So travel. No matter how many times I say, please don't travel. Please don't travel. I already got a question as to whether they could travel. Even, I was selected on the lottery. Yes, I'm so happy. Can I travel before you file my petition? My recommendation is no. Like I said, we have 90 days. Those are going to fly. A lot of work ahead. The world is a very uncertain place these days. And even though you may have your best intentions, anything could happen. You could get stuck abroad. I mean, this is your future. So I strongly recommend that you go nowhere until October 1st. And after you have your H-1B approval. And then if you do, which I hope that is the case, I mean, many of you may want to go home for the holidays or whatever. When you do go home, you're not going to be able to come back on your F1 visa. You're going to need to process a new H-1B visa in your passport. And I'll talk about after this slide. So a few things. Yeah, I think I have another slide that talks about, I don't know why this slide should have been before, but I'm going to talk about general considerations because it's important. I want you to know, and may have said this before to some degree, it is chaotic in the USCIS world. Every year, I think it's going to get better, and it's worse every year. It's just very, very sad. I just think that right now, we still don't know how many petitions or how many registrations they receive. Many. We know that it's more than 85,000. So everything is, and then they have new forms, they have new filing fees, they don't have good adjudicators. It is very chaotic. So the best that we can do, and what I ask you from the bottom of my heart, is to be flexible and to be patient. And be patient with us, be patient for yourselves. I know it is a nerve-wracking process, but just getting anxious about it, it's not going to get you there any faster. And you may put a few gray hairs on your hair, and you don't want that. So if the receipt notice comes back or the approval notice and there's an error, which could happen by, a typo, whatever, do not panic. Do not, it is what it is. Some things are going to happen, and for you to try to get that fixed, it's almost impossible. I mean, that's just an example. But my main message to you is just go with the flow. This is why we're here for you. We've got you. I said to the webinar on Tuesday, my gosh, I've been doing this for 22 years. When I started down this path, if you would have said to me, you would be doing this 22 years down the line, I would have said, what? But here we are, and we do it with passion. So, again, I've mentioned this, the classification takes effect October 1st and not before. And yes, apply for the STEM. That's the last time I'm going to say that. Okay. Consular processing is a different process. So once you get your H-1B approval notice, and then so again, after you get your approval notice, that doesn't mean that you can now travel, because if you do, you're not coming back until most likely October 1st after that, because you have no way of coming back to the United States because your H-1B does not start until October 1st. So you're stuck abroad no matter what. And the consular would not issue an H-1B for you to come back until 10 days before October 1st. So after October 1st, if you decide to travel abroad, you will have to cancel a process. Again, this is it's a separate process. If you want us to help you, we have a tier, a fee structure that is extremely reasonable because most of you will end up paying for it. The employers typically don't pay for it because they say, well, I don't need them to travel. They're doing this for personal reasons, which, yeah, it's okay. So we will give you some general information that we have. Like I have a video, I have this infographic about consular processing. But if you need more than that, you want us to review your DS-160, you want us to, help you with some, which believe me, you want everything to be aligned, and those forms are not created so that you can understand what they want. But we'll get there when we'll get there. I want to make this available to you and to know how the process works. If you email your paralegals to say, hey, I'm going to cancel a process, can you help me? They're going to say, here are the courtesy resources that we have for you. And here's also the tier system that we have. I think I want to say it begins at $400 or something. And it's worth it. This is my little video that I have, how to prepare for my consular process interview. I also have a lot of resources in our YouTube channel. Some of you may have been there already because you watched a video about the Blue Dot, or you may have watched some of the other videos. If you have not, there's a lot of resources there, and I will continue to add resources. So please, take your phone, scan the QR code. I welcome you there. Okay, we're coming to the end. So how are you feeling now? Some of you were at 3, and so I hope those numbers are rated now. Some of you were pretty high, and I hope that maybe you're at a 9 right now. Who knows? Let me see. How are we doing? What are the numbers like? Yes. And 9 and 8. Oh my gosh. I should have one of those little an 8. Love it. 7. All right. We need to work on that one. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Wow, Sharon, I think you went up a lot. I love it. Again, we're doing this for you. We very much value the opportunity to work with you. And we look forward to many approvals soon. And again, cheers. I'm very happy that you were all selected, and we look forward to working with you to continue to add happiness and joy to your days. Continue to do a good work for your employers and for our country. We value you. Thank you.